simple admonitions for young and old. Never interfere in a boy and girl fight. Beware of whores who say they don't want money.
Guys, what is up? Welcome to another episode of Maximilian Must Know. This, of course, is going to be a scent safari episode. For those of you who don't know who scent safari works, it's basically where I go to a house that I have some interest in, and I request samples from them. And then when I get them, I take 4, and basically before I do the video, the day before I do the video, I go through 4 of the fragrances. And then that day I'll put 4 on skin, and then right before I do the video I'll pick those 4 out again and I'll refresh them on my skin. So basically I get a really good feel for how those fragrances will fare in a day, and then a really good reminder of the top notes right before I do the video. And the fragrance that I was interested in today is called Jardin de Parfums. I'm sorry if I mispronounced this one. My French isn't great. Obviously, it translates to Writer's Garden, or Writers and Gardens. And the way that I first heard about them actually is when Twisted Lily in Brooklyn opened up. This is one of the first houses that they stocked. They didn't have a bunch of stuff when they first opened up, but they did have this one. So that's sort of how I first heard about them. And then when Henry Bendel went out of business, they had them as well. I saw them there. There was nothing that I really loved. They only had a couple at that point. And then when they released a fragrance called Junkie, which was inspired by William Burroughs, well, then I really sort of caught on to them. And we'll get into that one in just a little bit. Let me give you first a little bit of information about Jardin de Parfums before we actually talk about the 4 fragrances we're going to talk about today. And so this is a house that is inspired by the world of literature. It was started by a French perfumer named Anne Begin in 2012, really to merge her love of books and authors and gardens. So really cool convergences of passion. Each scent is meant to interpret the work and atmosphere of an author. Various literary movements are covered, the Romantic period, the Beat generation, Baroque, etc. And the house is based in Paris. There are currently 7 fragrances in the collection, the latest being Marlo, which we'll explore in the video. I'm going to link to the website in the description so you can find where these are available near you, but I'll just tell you that in New York City, you can find these in Twisted Lily in Brooklyn, and Anthropology carries these well in the United States. Prices for all the ones that we're going to speak about here are $110 for 50 milliliters. So these are priced very fairly and at the low end for niche fragrances. So the first one we're going to talk about is this guy right here. It's called Wild. And this one, of course, inspired by the great Oscar Wilde. Notes on this one are bergamot and grape at the top, fig, carnation, and tea in the middle, oak moss and vetiver at the base. Definitely like this one. Sort of has that dandyish vibe to it. I get citrus and oak moss, some florals and green notes. To me, I gotta be honest with you guys, it gets a little too soapy, too quick, which is where I think this one kind of loses me. On my skin, I prefer the fig and grape pop just a little bit more. Not a bad fragrance. To me, kind of starts really nice and fades quickly into the familiar. And I find that a little unfortunate. It gets soapy and sweet, but the quality is there. I feel like I've smelled this one a million times in my journey. If you're looking to smell good and fresh and clean, this one will do the trick without a doubt. The next one we're going to talk about is called Orlando. Now this one is based on the book Orlando by Virginia Woolf, and it's actually about a poet who changes their sex from man to woman. Notes on Orlando are going to be orange, pink peppercorn, and ginger at the top, amber, patchouli, and cloves in the middle, gaiac wood, musk, and Peru balsam in the base. The symbolism of Orlando here is sort of transsexualism, and I really love this one. A bitter orange for me. I get a nice dose of bitter orange, a touch of ginger here, with almost like bitter dried orange peels, and then a lot of woods and resins in this one. It's sweet, but it's dry. This is a fantastic fragrance, so much going on here, and in the dry down you're going to get a very nice powdery vibe, almost baby powder like. It's really sweet and it's enticing. In the dry down I get some vanilla and resins. This is a super appealing scent. I really recommend anyone check this one out. I love this fragrance. Marlo is the next one we're going to look at, and this one is based on Christopher Marlo, who was supposed to be the bad boy of Elizabethan theater. He was a good-looking, good-natured man who was also said to be a spy and student of the occult. And the notes on this one are tuberose, omanthus, and elemi at the top, myrrh and dried flowers in the middle, and cashmere, cedar, vetiver, oak moss, labdanum, tonkin musk, and leather in the base. Now for me, guys, this one starts very floral, but in a dried flowers way. These aren't like airy white flowers. These almost have like a dried out, someone made a syrup out of the dried flower petals. To me, if I had to describe this one, I would really say it's a woody, leathery tuberose over some sweet myrrh. Nothing wrong with this one. I don't think, for me, it's just sort of like not my cup of tea. I think it's a very good fragrance on my skin. But dried flowers, I feel like can sort of take on a little bit of a grandma vibe, and that would personally keep me from this one. But I think it's really good quality, and I think anyone who likes tuberose should definitely check this one out. For me, there's some others I like better. I actually like Orlando and Wild better personally. And then we're gonna get to Junkie. And of course, Junkie is based on William Burroughs, who has really been a sort of hero in my life, if that makes any sort of sense. He was a father of the Beat generation. I was a writer at one point. I really liked to write. I had a short story published, sort of about doing a lot of drugs at an earlier point in my life. I actually was about to get a book published called I Feel Strange Sober, and really right as I was talking to publishers, I lost the entire disc, and I really could just never replace the couple hundred pages that I did at that point. They were heavily influenced by me being under the influence, but I sort of realized that I could write and that I could speak under William Burroughs. So that's sort of why he's always been a hero of mine. Naked Lunch, Junkie, Queer, are all sort of books that I love. So I was really anxious to see what Jardin de Parfums could do with Junkie. And notes on Junkie are going to be hemp, rosewood, and galbanum at the top, iris, violet, and gardenia in the middle, cashmere and cedar, vetiver, sweet myrrh, frankincense, cade, and moss make up the base. And to me, this is one of the most ingenious fragrances that I've ever smelled. I kind of bemoan the fact initially that this one didn't contain opium smoke or poppy. When I read the notes, I was like, damn, you're doing a Burroughs scent. Like, how are you not going to have some nod to heroin in this one? But this really, to me, sort of brings to mind what Burroughs and his jacket might have smelled like during his escapades in Junkie. That sort of dirty, but trying to be clean and gentlemanly smell of wool, of an addict running pharmacy scans, and what a top coat or a pea coat might smell like. And they might freshen themselves up with some cheap drugstore water with the violet iris, but there's still going to be that illicitness hanging over them and this sort of stench of trouble and danger. But then I think also, and I want you guys to be clear, this is extremely wearable and just a beautiful, ingenious. I don't use the word genius too much on this channel, but this is an ingenious springtime fragrance that makes wonderful use of galbanum and has a wonderfully light base of sweet myrrh and incense that manages to be wispy and not too dense. I've had this one on my to purchase list forever. I think I just at some point need to grab a full bottle and do a full out all on review of this one because I love this one so much. So what is my take on Jardin de Parfums? Well, I don't think there'd be a maxed out with 4,160 Tuesdays if not for houses like Jardin and Histoire de Parfum, because they're sort of really importantly reminding perfumers and creators that perfume can not only be creative but can be inspired by more than what you've seen other people do. You can take people or places or art that inspires you and use that in this medium. So I think that houses like Jardin are owed a huge debt of gratitude for that. And then you add in the fact that these are quality fragrances with something for everyone at a very affordable price point. And then this is a line that I don't understand how you can be into perfume and not have really explored Jardin de Parfums, because this is a forefather of the concept fragrance, and I really appreciate it. I want to thank them for doing what they do, and certainly for letting me explore their art on my channel. And I implore my subscribers to please check this house out. Please get some samples and just ride that concept out. That it doesn't have to be a jumble of notes. Fragrance can be so much more than that. So I thank Jardin, and we'll be back with more videos, more scent safaris, more reviews. Guys, you already know what it is. My name is Maximilian, and I must know. See you guys again real soon.
If you're doing business with a religious son of a bitch, get it in writing. His word isn't worth shit.